All right, so we're back and ready for another deep dive. And today we're taking a look at Will Smith.
Will Smith.
Yeah, you know him, right?
Yeah.
The Fresh Prince, blockbuster star, all that.
That's definitely.
But we're going deeper than the surface, you know? We've got articles, interviews, all sorts of stuff about his journey.
Interesting.
From West Philly to, well, Hollywood royalty.
I mean, that's what always gets me about his story. It's not your typical rags to riches thing. There's so much more to it.
There are twists and turns, and that's what we're going to unpack today.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot to learn from that, you know, for anyone, really, not just folks trying to make it in Hollywood.
Absolutely. I think Will Smith's career is a great example of how you can reinvent yourself and stay resilient, especially in a world that's constantly changing.
Yeah, and speaking of change, let's rewind a bit to his early days. Our sources paint this picture of a young Will Smith in West Philadelphia. He bursts onto the music scene with DJ Jazzy Jeff.
Ah, the dynamic duo.
But here's the thing. He wasn't just another rapper, you know, trying to fit into some tough guy image.
No, not at all.
He had this playful, almost mischievous energy in his music.
And that's what made him stand out. You got to remember, back then, rap was still kind of finding its place.
Yeah.
I mean, you had groups like Public Enemy, NWA, a lot of anger and social commentary, which was important, of course.
Right.
But Will and Jazzy Jeff, they brought something different.
Mm-hmm.
Humor, storytelling, a sense of fun.
Totally. I mean, think about their hits. Parents Just Don't Understand, Summertime.
They were classics.
They were catchy, sure, but relatable too. You know, you could tell he was having a blast, and that connected with people in a way that was just so fresh.
Yeah, he made it feel accessible. Like rap could be clever and lighthearted at the same time. And that ability to connect through humor, that's powerful.
So true. And you see how that foundation in music, that ability to entertain, really set him up for his move into television.
Oh, absolutely. We can't talk about Will Smith without talking about The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
We can't. It's a classic sitcom. But it went deeper than just laughs, didn't it?
It did. I mean, it tackled some pretty serious topics, race, class, family issues, but always in a way that was entertaining and got you thinking.
And he was playing a version of himself, this fish out of water in Bel-Air, but there were moments of real vulnerability.
Oh, absolutely. Like that scene where he breaks down talking about his dad.
Oh, man. Again.
It was so raw and unexpected for a sitcom.
Yeah, and it showed people he had depth, you know.
Yeah.
He was more than just the funny guy.
It's like he was signaling, hey, I can act too. I can tap into those emotions.
And that's where things start to get really interesting. He's not just a funny rapper anymore. He's a serious actor. And that opened the door to Hollywood.
He was strategic, you know. He used that music success to launch his acting career. But then he was picky. He didn't just take any role. He chose projects that showed his range.
And those blockbusters started rolling in Bad Boys, Independence Day, Men in Black.
He became a global action star.
But even in those roles, you know, the tough guy parts, he still had that charm, that humor that made him stand out.
Exactly. He wasn't just blowing stuff up. He was winking at the audience, having fun with it.
Like, I'm in on the joke.
Exactly. Which is hard to pull off, but he did it.
And so he's conquered music, TV, movies. You'd think he'd be content, right?
Right. But then he takes on this huge challenge.
Muhammad Ali.
And you see his dedication in that role. He didn't just want to play Ali. He wanted to become him. The physical transformation, the training, the studying Ali's life, his mannerisms, everything.
Wow.
He was doing his own deep dive into the character.
I love that.
And that's what made his performance so much more than just an impersonation, you know? He captured the essence of Ali, the charisma, the vulnerability, the complexity.
Ali, that film was a turning point, right?
It solidified him as a serious actor, someone who was willing to push himself to the limit for his art.
And it's interesting, right? He goes from playing this larger-than-life boxing legend to something much more grounded and personal, the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah, it really shows his range. I mean, he could have just stuck with those big action movies.
Right.
But he seems to be drawn to those stories that really explore, you know, what it means to be human, the struggles, the triumphs, things we can all relate to.
And in the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah.
He's Chris Gardner, a single father, just trying to make ends meet.
Tough role.
So different from those slick, confident characters we'd seen him play before.
And starring alongside his real son, Jaden.
Yeah.
It adds this whole other layer to the performance.
It does. It does. You can see that connection between them.
Real, genuine, more than just acting.
Powerful film. It shows his ability to convey those raw emotions, you know, Vulnerability, resilience.
You feel Chris Gardner's desperation, the determination to take care of his son, and then ultimately that triumph.
Gives you chills.
It's a reminder that even when things feel impossible, there's always hope.
And that message really hit home with people.
It did.
Yeah.
Critical and commercial success.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
How he's built this career that spans like everything, genres, generations.
He really can do it all.
He can make you laugh. He can make you cry, cheer him on as an action hero, and then break your heart with a dramatic performance.
And he's not afraid to take risks, to step outside his comfort zone.
Always pushing himself.
That willingness to evolve, that's something we can all learn from no matter what you do.
And it's not just his acting, right? Our sources also talk about his philanthropic work, the motivational messages he shares.
It seems like at this point in his career, it's not just about personal success anymore. It's
Right.
about making a difference, giving back, inspiring others.
His work with the Will and Jada Smith Family Foundation, for example, they've focused on education, empowering young people, which makes sense given his own background.
Absolutely. He talks a lot about how education opened doors for him, and now he wants to do the same for others.
And he's not just signing checks, he's involved visiting schools, mentoring, using his voice to advocate for change.
Yeah, he understands the power of his words, the influence he has, and he wants to use it for good.
I really like how he connects those motivational messages back to his own experiences, the good and the bad. He talks about failure, setbacks, the importance of learning from mistakes.
I think there's a quote. Let me see if I can find it. Fail early, fail often, fail forward.
Wow, that's good.
It's about embracing those failures as part of the process,
Not letting them define you.
Using them to grow.
So important, especially in a world where everyone's trying to project this image of perfection.
Right.
He's showing us it's okay to mess up, to fall down, as long as you get back up.
That's what makes him relatable. He's not afraid to be vulnerable, to talk about his struggles.
And that makes his successes even more inspiring.
Yeah, it's like he's saying, hey, I've been there, I've doubted myself, but I didn't give up. You don't have to either.
Exactly. And that resonates with people no matter who they are or what they do.
It's a powerful message.
There's this story about his grandmother. I read it in one of the articles. She always told him, make a difference, Will.
Wow.
And he's really taken that to heart, hasn't he?
It seems like it's...
Not just with the entertainment, but with his actions, his words, his whole presence.
Yeah, he's using his influence for good, advocating for causes, inspiring others. That's a legacy that goes beyond awards and box office numbers. It really is. It's about recognizing that success is about more than just yourself.
It's about giving back.
Using your talents to make a positive impact.
Something we can all strive for.
Whether we're in the spotlight or not.
It's pretty remarkable how he's managed to stay relevant for so long.
Yeah.
I mean, the entertainment industry is brutal.
Always changing.
But he's adapted, he's evolved.
That reinvention, he's never afraid to try new things, new roles, new genres.
Even stepping outside of acting altogether.
From rapping about summertime to playing a genie in Aladdin.
It's wild.
But it always feels authentic,
He does.
Because he brings that same energy and passion to everything.
This deep dive has really been eye-opening. I gotta say, I'm seeing Will Smith in a whole new light.
Me too. He's not just a talented entertainer.
He's someone who's genuinely committed to making the world a better place.
I think that's a good point to pause and reflect for a moment. When we come back, we'll dive into some of the key takeaways from Will Smith's journey and see how we can apply those lessons to our own lives.
Sounds good. Stay with us. Okay, so we're back. And I gotta say, this deep dive into Will Smith's world has been way more insightful than I thought it would be. It's not your typical celebrity story,
Right. It's deeper than that.
It is. And one thing that keeps popping up in these sources is this idea of reinvention. He's constantly pushing himself outside his comfort zone.
Yeah, new genres, unexpected roles, even starting completely different ventures.
It's like he's not afraid to just, jump into something new.
But it's not about abandoning who he is. It's more like building on what he's good at while embracing those new challenges.
That's a good point. From rapping to sitcoms to action movies, then dramatic roles, even producing and directing. It's a lot.
It takes guts, that's for sure.
And it makes you think, in our own lives, how often do we just stay stuck? Maybe there's something you've always wanted to learn or a project you keep putting off.
Or even just a new way of thinking.
Right. Will Smith's story is like a reminder to just go for it.
But he doesn't just, randomly jump into things. He's strategic about it.
You're right. It's not about chasing every single opportunity.
It's more about finding what really connects with you, what feels right.
It's so easy to get caught up in what we think we should be doing, you know?
Or what everyone else is doing.
But he's all about trusting your gut,
Yeah.
going after what truly excites you.
And even with the best plans, you're going to hit some bumps in the road. Remember After Earth?
Oh, yeah, that one didn't quite land the way he probably hoped.
But instead of letting it get him down, he used it as a learning experience.
She does seem to own his mistakes, you know? Take responsibility and then use that to adjust and move forward.
It's great mindset.
It's a quote from him that really stuck with me. He said, "There's no such thing as failure, only feedback."
That's good. I like that.
It changes how you look at things, doesn't it?
It takes the fear out of making mistakes.
And that leads to another big theme, I think. His commitment to making a difference. It's not just about him and his success. It's about using what he's got to help others.
It's more than just the philanthropy, although that's impressive on its own.
It's the messages he puts out there. In his films, his interviews, everything. There's this consistent thread of positivity.
Encouraging people to be better.
Like he's really living that advice from his grandmother, you know? Make a difference, Will.
Yeah.
He could easily just enjoy the fame and fortune, but he chooses to do more.
He's using his influence to inspire.
And that's where it becomes really powerful, right? It's not just about entertainment anymore. It's about leaving a positive mark.
It shows that we all have the power to do that in our own ways.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the biggest takeaway is this Will Smith's journey is proof that success isn't a destination, it's a journey.
A process.
You're always evolving, learning, and using your talents to make a positive impact.
And it all starts with belief. Belief in yourself, belief in your ability to make a difference.
Like he said, the first step before anybody else in the world believes it is you have to believe it. So thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Will Smith. We hope his story inspires you to embrace your own journey, to keep pushing those boundaries, and to never stop believing in your potential to make a difference in the world.